I know we've only known each other for 4 weeks and 3 days, but to me, it seems like 9 weeks and 5 days.
All right, all right. Here we are, all my garden enthusiasts and passionate plant people. It is the third Sunday of the month. It's the Sunday edition of the Let's Get Growing show here on the Urban Gardener channel. I'm Enoch. I'm your host today. And third Sunday of the month means it's gardening book club time. We got a great gardening book club ahead for you. We don't have a featured guest to talk with today on the show. So our good friend, Marc Boucher-Colbert, Mr. NBC, is going to be with us here in a little bit here for In the Garden, as well as co-hosting the book club. And we decided that it'd be a good idea to spend this month talking with you about the books that we use the most in the garden. What are our most used books that we go to on our gardening bookshelf? And we're going to talk about that and a little bonus non-gardening book as well towards the end too, as some book recommendations for folks out there too who are looking to maybe add some books to their bookshelves and gardening bookshelves and all of that as well too. So we got a great discussion coming up here just a little bit. Like I said, Marc will be joining with us live for In the Garden as well too here in just a few minutes. But let's go ahead and get this done here right at the top of the show. Let's go ahead and hit the thumbs up, hit that like button, subscribe, bell notification to be notified of our upcoming shows. But definitely share with all of your friends and let them know about the Let's Get Growing show here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, each and every weekend. And hopefully here real soon, we're going to get rolling again and having some really awesome guests, some really great conversations that you can expect here on the Let's Get Growing show. So definitely come and join with us. Shout out to all of you who are watching us on the replay today. Thank you so much for taking your time to come and join with us here on the Let's Get Growing show. And definitely drop into the comments and let us know you're here. Let us know where you're growing from, what you got growing on, all of that sort of stuff. I love to hear from all of you. So definitely do that. Get into the comment section, even if you want to just drop by and say hello. And if you are here with us live, join the conversation. It's a great chat in our chat there. So definitely drop into the conversation. And also, if you have any questions or comments for us here today as well, too, drop those into the chat. And we're going to do roll call also here in just a few minutes as well, too. So for those of you who are here with us live right now, this is a great time to jump in, say hello, let us know, like all of our folks who are joining us on the replay. Let us know you're here. Let us know where you're growing from, what you got growing on, all that sort of stuff. And we'll give you a shout out here in just a few minutes on our roll call coming up here as well. So right on, right on. Also, follow links down below to all of our contributors and guests and all of that we have here on the show. We got a lot of also links to other social media and everything here for the channel as well too. So thanks everybody for joining us here today. Again, monthly gardening book club time this month. And like I said, we got a great conversation coming up here in just a little bit later on in the show. I did want to mention with you about what we had going on here last weekend on the show. Last weekend on the show, we had a fun conversation on our Saturday show, and I love showing this picture here. So I picked it for our thumbnail last week, and I had a little discussion, and I explained and talked about this radish I grew here. And that radish is actually, if you look at it, that radish where my hands are though in that picture would fit. It was that big when it ultimately grew. It was huge. It was humongous. You want to know about the story about that radish? Go and check out last Saturday's show. Not yesterday's show, though. I should have done this ahead of time, though. Yesterday's show, though, on the Saturday show was our community show where we had you, the audience, as the guest. And yeah, it was a really great show yesterday. We got to meet a lot of the folks that we get to see in our chat. We had some new faces as well in the conversation. Always love the community shows. It's a great opportunity for us to connect as a community, especially all of you who come and join with us each and every weekend to come hang out here for our conversations on the show. So definitely go back and check out yesterday's show. So yesterday's show, Saturday's show, was our community show where you were the guest. And then last week on the show, we talked about this and a bunch of other stuff too. We explained some other things and had some great discussions and all of that. And then on the Sunday edition of the show, last Sunday, 1 week ago, we had our good friend Scott Wilson from the Gardner Scott channel joined us for our monthly discussion with him where we ask Gardner Scott. This is where you get to get all of your gardening questions answered by Master Gardener, Gardner Scott Wilson, right here on the show. He's so awesome to come and hang out with us each and every month. We have such a fun discussion. Last Sunday, though, we had a really great discussion talking about AI in gardening and gardening content nowadays that we're seeing out there. And we had a really great discussion about all sorts of different aspects of AI and everything too. So that was just a really, really great conversation, really great discussion. And of course, we answered a bunch of different questions from the audience as well too. It was really fun, really awesome. Like I said, always great to have Gardner Scott joining with us here on the show. So you want to go back and check out that show as well too. So right on, excellent. And on yesterday's show too, talked a little bit about getting, and I show at the beginning of the show a little video of something going on in the garden. And yesterday I showed our big pots that we have. I have these big 45-gallon like felt growing pots out there. And got our tomatoes planted out, got my whole alleyway garden space kind of all situated and set up. We're getting things completely planted out and everything. So I'm finally getting to that point in the growing and gardening season where I'm kind of feeling it. It's like, okay, everything is getting going. The weather's been really amazing and really awesome for being able to get out there and finish up some of these projects to get some of these growing spaces ready to go and ready to go for the growing season. The one thing I've really what I could say wasn't expecting, or ultimately just, I let some things go pretty well this last winter and everything too. So as I was creating my garden chore list, I didn't really expect for it to grow and be so much ultimately that I had to do. So there was my expectations of what it was going to take to get things done and get those spaces was a little bit lighter than what I was actually going to have to do when it came to getting those things done out there. But working through all of it, getting it done. The weather's been great to allow me to get through a lot of that stuff. We're getting things planted out. Like I said, tomatoes are out. I've got peppers out hardening off right now, so they're going to be getting out into their spaces around the garden here real soon as well. A bunch of other things that we've got growing out there, popping up and going. I'm direct seeding some things I talked about yesterday too. I'm working a kind of a strategy. I'm direct seeding a lot of certain things that I have, but I'm also growing backups, and seed starting them in like a regular, seed starting trays and things like that as well. So I have some backup plants just in case, because it just seems over the last couple of years I get some things out there and just some of the pest pressure that we've been dealing with and our things are changing, and even some of that pest pressure is changing a little bit too. So I've been losing in a few plants more than I would normally expect over the last couple of seasons. So I'm going to run this strategy now. I'm going to start really growing some backups and make sure I really get things out there where I intend them to be growing this year versus having some things I want in a certain space, and then something happens, a disaster, and they're gone, and then that space is open and you're trying to put something new in there. I'm going to make sure when I sit down and wrote in my gardening plan that I want to grow in these different spaces, I'm going to be growing in those spaces one way or another. We're going to make sure we're going to run some other protection strategies and things like that as well too, to kind of make sure we can get through those different pest pressures from different things that we're trying to grow in the garden. But yeah, things are, like I said, growing great, looking nice, feeling good. It is that, I also said yesterday too that I feel like I'm a little late to the game with having to have gone through and had to do so much to kind of catch up with things, but it's always great when you get to that certain point. You're at that point where, man, everything's looking good. You're starting to feel like your garden plan's starting to come together. The plants are really growing nicely, coming out of winter when everything looks so terrible, and you're not, I would say I wasn't as confident, but now I see everything looking good. Everything's going great. Now everything's, you know, really, really going to be awesome this year, as I was originally intending. So, all right, enough about all of that. Let's see who we got joining with us here today, because I think it's time we do a little bit of roll call here.
My name is Kevin.
Yeah.
That is my name.
Yeah.
They call me Kevin.
Yeah.
Because that's my name.
Roll call.
All right, it's roll call time. That's right, roll call time. That means it's time for you all to jump into the chat to let us know where you're growing from, what you got growing on in your garden. And this is our audience shout out section of the show. Let's see who we've got in the chat with us here today. And of course, we definitely got to say hello to the J-Bot. She joined up with us yesterday too for our community show conversation. So another good reason to go back and check out the conversation yesterday on yesterday's show. So we had a little chat and discussion, and Jay helps co-host the community show. So yeah, thanks Jay for all you did yesterday. Thanks for hanging out in our conversation today and facilitating everything, joining us from Huron County, Midwestern Ontario, Canada, in the lee of Lake Huron. We've got Meg's Edible Landscapes with us here too as well. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us today here on the show. Our good friend Bowtie Life, Mrs. Bowtie, joining us from the heart of Old Destin, where the weather is beautiful, the cameras are rolling live, and the garden tours are underway. Well, awesome. Great things going on over there, Bowtie Life. Thanks for joining us on the show yesterday as well, too. Right on. I see Jay says, I am assembling and installing a dozen raised beds with adapted hugelkultur under each bed. Yeah. You want to hear a little bit more about that? We definitely talked about that, and Jay had a few different pictures that we got to share as well too on the show yesterday. So yeah, really great stuff. Really liked it. I didn't expect so many raised beds. It was a lot of work. Right on. Nancy, thanks for joining with us here today. Hello. You're not that late. I think you're pretty good. You're pretty on time, I would say, for sure. Absolutely. Serena. Hey, Serena. Hi, cousin. Great to see you today. Thank you for being here. Awesome to have you here. We've got our good friend and book club co-host coming up in the garden here in just a few minutes. Our friend Marc Boucher-Colbert, NBC Urban Ag Solutions, saying hello from Portland, Oregon, right on the other side of the state of Oregon. I'm down here at the bottom. He's up at the top. We're covering all of Oregon here on the show for sure today. We got over on the other side of the Atlantic, though. We've got our friend Joe from Muddy Puddles Farm joining us from Cornwall in the UK, where the beans are in. Got the beans out. Awesome. Excellent. I know we were I want to get, I was mentioning yesterday too, is I want to get a couple of different cool varieties of beans and maybe do a little kind of focus on some beans this year myself too, in a few of our different spaces. Nancy, I'm loving this community. It's the best. I'm telling you, this is the best. Totally the best community ever. We got our good friend and other in the garden contributor, Paul from Guten Gardening, in the audience with us. Hello, Paul. Great to see you, man. Thanks for jumping in. Great to see you. He says, we are in the midst of a severe thunderstorm over there. Ooh. Yeah, big thunderstorm time. Yeah, we had one roll through here just a week or two ago. That was, it was really quick, but it was a pretty good little storm, though. Nancy, northern New Jersey here, growing from seed, beets, radishes, carrots, string beans, cantaloupe, cukes, rampicante, zucchini, squash. Wow. Growing some great stuff. Great stuff there. Awesome. Thank you for jumping in and definitely letting us know you're here from northern New Jersey as well. So great to have you here with us today. Paul says, we've been a little late getting some things in the ground like corn. It was a week later than I wanted to. Yeah, well, a week later, I think that's pretty good in my book right now, because I feel like I'm really behind with almost everything, maybe even beyond a week for sure. But glad to see you're starting to get those things in and catching up, though, too. It's good to catch up with things and get things going, though, too. Like I was saying, it really does give a really good feeling in the garden for sure. All right. Nope. Hey, how are you doing today? It's great to see you here. It's Cam from Las Vegas. Only 87 degrees today. Right on. Only 87. That's still pretty darn warm, that's for sure. I know it's going to be warming up just like that for us here in Southern Oregon, too, here real soon. It's probably coming up pretty soon. And then we've got Janet with us in the conversation. Thank you, Janet, for being here with us from Central Texas, Zone 9A. Fellow gardeners and readers. That's right. It's book club day, too. Thanks for making sure to say that for sure. Two of my tribes overlapping in a super Venn diagram. I love it. Gardening and books. Exactly. For sure. And Shady in the conversation saying, hey, Enoch, and book club as well, too. Yes, indeed. We are going to have to get moving on here real quick here and getting going onto this book club. We got a in the garden segment here coming up in just a minute as well. We've got our other moderator and other good friend. We definitely got to mention before we finish up here our roll call. Adam Burley joining us from right up the road here in Central Point, Oregon, here in Southern Oregon. He's listening in today while getting some stuff done inside, then heading out to the garden. Adam's always a great example of what being a great or what a great way of watching or listening in on the show is to put us on. We're talking, we're conversating, we're having a discussion. Just put us on, whether it's on your phone, your laptop, whatever. Set us aside and get to work doing the little chores and things you got to do, whether it's inside for your garden or outdoors in your garden. So Adam, thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out in the garden with us for sure, because it is now time for us to definitely jump right into the garden here with our good friend. He's waiting in the wings right now with us. It's time for In the Garden with our good friend, Mr. NBC. All right. Here we are. It's In the Garden time. We've got our man. Here he is, NBC, Marc Boucher-Colbert.
Good to be back on this third Sunday, Enoch. I always love third Sunday for this reason.
Yeah. It's great. It's great to get together. It's great to hang out. It's like one of our folks in the chat was saying, I love this community. I love it too. And then another person was saying it's a great crossover of their favorite interests, the gardening and books too,
Oh
here with
yeah.
our
Oh my God.
monthly gardening book club too. We got a fun idea that we were going to do for, just kind of an open month where, this kind of, really hasn't happened to us very much. Let's say we've
Yeah.
been very, very fortunate, very, very lucky. We did have, like, I think in the first year, towards the end of the first year, 1 month that we filled in with the book review, and then we planned a book review, and then this one here where I was just good fitting someone in or doing something just didn't work out. But I was like, hey, you know what? This is a great idea. It's the beginning, kind of the beginning of the growing season anyways. We're probably all out there in the garden doing things, and I'm sure some of us have books on our gardening shelf that we're using from season to season, or at least kind of referencing and checking in on, or using a little bit, from season to season. So I thought that'd be a great idea. Let's talk about some of those books on our bookshelf today.
Well, Hank, I want to just say before we jump into anything that's going on in the garden right now that this style book group is unique, I think, in terms of getting the author to come on with us, and it's not very simple. I mean, you do the hard legwork, and I've heard your stories over the years, but it's like you can have somebody lined up months in advance, and all of a sudden their plans change, and you're stuck. People don't, respond to your emails in a timely fashion. So you are constantly behind the scenes, like trying to flip levers and make things happen. It's one thing for us to just pick a book, like, hey, let's do this book, let's do that book. But then trying to wrangle the author is a whole other matter. So you do, and I too am surprised that we haven't had more people backing out on us. I mean, there's been a tremendous consistency and ability to get these people. But that's because you're working really hard in the background, making this happen, trying to accommodate their schedules and all. So it's tricky business. Yeah, it's not.
And it just, and this month just kind of ran into what the rest of the show is ran into, though, and I've explained it on some other shows, is that, I've got other things going on. This is kind of something I do as a side project in my life for fun, in a way. I got real things going on and some new things and all that sort of stuff. So a lot of things have kind of converged at this moment in time. So getting on there and doing that work that goes on in the background of wrangling guests, and that's really a good way of putting it too. Because if you look at the work it takes, and how the calendar works, and how I'm working emails, and how I'm trying to contact people and doing things, it really is, it's just a dynamically moving piece of I don't know, art, in a way, if you think about it, in some way, is it because it becomes something, that ultimately, certain days happen, and we have to work our ways to making and solidifying those parts of the schedule. But until that happens, it's this moving piece, just going and everything too. So it's really interesting and fun, and was the real big challenge was in starting a show like this, was, can I do that sort of thing? And here we are, year 3.
You've been doing
I've got a bookshelf right down below here that's nearly full. I was just thinking about the other day, one of the shelves on it, because it's kind of a smaller shelf. I was like, either I'm gonna have to get a bigger bookshelf to put down there for our book club books, because they're all of our book club books, or I'm gonna have to rework them and maybe get the second shelf and do something. I was like, I'm gonna have to rework this or get a different shelf, because we got so many great books and authors that we've been able to interview and have on this great book club. So it's been just pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I'm going to pull a few of those books that we've talked about today later on when we talk about some of the books we turn to, because these really are people who have done some original work, some interesting work, and it's stuff that I go back to. I mean, so it's, I don't think of this as this is not a frivolous activity. It's like, oh, should I either be weeding or reading? It's like, it's not one or the other. It's like both are really important. And a lot of times one will, something you read will totally transform even like what tasks you think you need doing. Like I'm thinking of more of like a exposure to permaculture or something, or a no-till gardening style. Just being exposed to that and really taking it in through reading, you can then totally adjust your garden life and be like, I need to do much less work than I thought. It's not just about it's not just about they're getting out and just grunting and groaning and sweating, although that can be fun. But
Yeah.
it's about trying to, work intelligently. And also sometimes you just need to jump tracks and go to a whole different system. And then things become much different for you in terms of your daily day-to-day garden tasks. So it's good
Yeah.
stuff to be doing all year long, even though as the pace of the season increases, it gets a little harder to read, to find that reading time. It gets a little harder.
It does. It does. And I'll kind of talk about that a little bit too, as we got kind of a little extra bonus at the end there too. We'll talk just a little bit at the end there about some non-gardening book recommendations that we have as well too, which is kind of fun because we're just kind of talking about books in general. But yeah, also I want to mention to the audience out there, if you're here with us live joining in, or if you're here watching on the replay as well too, I would love to hear about what your favorite gardening books are, especially those gardening books that you enjoy reading and using each and every year, something that you fall back to, you reference a lot, those sort of things, those more used garden books on your bookshelf that you have. So I'd love to hear about those that you have as well too. So if you're here with us live, jump in the chat, or if you're here on the replay, drop into the comments and let us know as well too.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get in the garden though too. We're here. One of the things I really love about doing this show too, having this book club and having it set up like this, is that I get to have my good friend Marc join with me here, who I just totally admire all of your different garden spaces and everything. So I get to have you here live with me to talk about what you got growing on in these garden spaces and how things are growing. So real quickly, let's try to work through them, and you also let me know something that or whatever you've got an idea you want to talk about in the garden today. But tell us a little bit about how things are growing in your different garden spaces right now.
Well, May is nuts. May really is
Yeah,
nuts. I just got
it's
to
nuts.
start off by saying that. That's the preface to
Absolutely.
all of this. For me, this month is so chopped up. It's like there's Mother's Day, so you got to do something, for my wife, even though my kids are sort of like, she's not my mother, but there's a sense of like trying to facilitate that. A week later is my wife's birthday, Janine's birthday, which we just celebrated. That's good. Okay. Got a lot of
Happy
responsibility.
birthday, Janine.
Yeah, happy birthday, Janine. And that was lovely. I'm going out of town next week, so it's like, oh my God, where's the weekend time to catch up? But the temperatures have been vacillating too, as I can, see people in the chat talking about this. We're in an interesting position here in Portland, at least. It's like some of our growing times have definitely advanced, and I keep wanting to make the plunge into like, all right, well, let's just go for the earlier planting dates on things, the tomatoes, the peppers. But then now we're back into a cold snap. And for us, that means, temperatures in the 40s at night, but it definitely prolongs. And it's like, wow, we're right on the edge of this shift, but it won't quite make it yet. So we had lots of 80-degree days, low 80s and high 70s for a while. And it seemed like, oh, okay, now we're kind of into summer mode. But now it's like, oh, no, we're back into early spring mode. So there's just this constant shifting. And luckily I planted out some peppers to get on the early side. And, I hear you saying this idea of backup is a great thing to do if you're caught in this kind of back and forth, because you want
shifting climate too is a big thing,
Yes.
so things are different each and every year to a level where I'm like, I'm just kind of getting caught off guard with a few things here and there, and it messes up a few spaces or a few plants each season. I'm like, you know what, I really got to plan better ahead on this, grow some backups and be ready for some of those things that I got to try some other strategies though on top of that, but still having backups is a good thing to do.
Well, the only strategy that I can think of is get a big greenhouse, because
and that's the wish I had that space for a big
that
greenhouse.
sense,
That's the
I
one
don't
thing.
either.
If I only could.
Yeah, because there's a sense in which, like, okay, I have a grow room in the basement, and there's a capacity to that. It's just like there's only so much that can stay in there, And then it's almost like as certain things mature enough to get kind of kicked outside, they have to get kicked out of the nest. And sometimes the outside's not ready for it. So it's like, oh man, we can use bed
Yeah.
covers. You can use row cover, cloches, all that sort of thing. There's ways to
Mhm.
do it, but it is still just a challenging time of year when you're on the edge and you haven't quite made the shift over to at least warm enough nights for some of these plants.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And same here though too. When you're talking about the overnight temperature, I was mentioning that before we started the show. I was like, I opened the door this morning, got working around everything, didn't realize how it was much cooler it was last night than I was thinking. So I'm in here now with a little sweater on. I had to throw that on before
Yeah,
the
me
show.
too.
It was
Sweater
like
weather, sweater
it's
weather.
sweater weather, but it's still really nice though too. I was also out there. I was like, yeah, it's a little cooler, but it's really nice as well too down here, anyways.
Well, we did get a lot of rain, and the other thing I want to talk about is this the edge being on the edge of irrigation.
Mm.
At least for us, when I started gardening back in New Hampshire, and we didn't have irrigation then because there were frequent summer rains. It just seemed like it was going to rain once every 10 days at least, probably a good heavy thunderstorm, and sometimes more frequently than that. You just didn't need it. It's not really part of the equation. I don't know if that's changed over the years, but it wasn't really part of it. I know there's been some bad droughts back east. Um, but out here, there's a definitely seasonal drought. It's part of the cycle of the year, and it's just a matter of when it begins. Again, like pushing a little earlier. We had a low rain year this winter, and then coming into April and May, again, like somewhat
Mhm.
rain and warmer temperatures. So I'm right at the edge of starting some irrigation systems, but I don't really have enough time to get them all together yet. So I'm sort of like
Yeah.
doing a lot of hand watering, and again, it's just like it adds to the load until I can get the irrigation set up. Then there's a relaxation after that, but it's just like, oh, what a period.
I've been caught in this cycle that you are describing right now for a few seasons now. It's like to set up, and again, for the types of garden spaces I have, it's a little bit more intricate so that I can get the irrigation going here and making them in different stations so that they can go at different times for
Yeah.
pressure and all this sort of stuff, and working all of that out, working the lines just the way they need to get the drippers and the right drippers you want for each one and all of
Yep.
that sort of thing, and that's some work that's got to be put in, right? And I've been caught in this kind of evil cycle myself because it's like, yeah, it's a lot of work to get it done, but then there's that imagining what it's like on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Right? You get it
Yeah.
all done. This is all set up now, and now you're kind of free to just kind of observe where
Exactly.
you do a little bit of hand watering for certain things that are just going to need it anyways. It lightens that load down, but you can just kind of
Mhm.
observe now, which is the important thing with doing irrigation, right, Mark? Because hand watering is the great benefit of that is we're just kind of forced to observe if we're hand watering, right?
Well,
Because we're
Nick, I'm
there,
losing
we
you
can't we
here.
see the stuff, but if it's all irrigated, it's easy to walk away and not kind of watch things because we're like, oh well, no, it's on its timer system, it's all taken care of, so I don't need to really watch it. We got to be careful of those sort of
Oh yeah. Oh
that
my
sort of
God.
thinking, right?
Yeah, you do have to be careful, and there's just all it takes is uh, one battery malfunction on your timer.
Yeah.
You just become so confident, and then all of a sudden you see your plants wilting, and it's like, what's wrong? And it can be,
Hmm.
it can be too late. So it's
Yep.
good, as you say, to take a sort of a hybrid approach where you're doing kind of light touch hand watering from time to time, just to kind of keep a hands on the ground thing, so you don't get too overconfident, because there's just every tech system has its fail points, and just you don't want to discover
Hmm.
them. I mean, you can do a lot of things like, okay, yes, change your batteries and your timer at the beginning of the season, that sort of thing. Physically inspect the lines, blah blah blah. But there's always a fly in the ointment, as they say.
Yeah, always a fly, exactly. And I did have like a smaller little setup a few years ago. which led to the idea, well, let's kind of expand it out and do this with everything. And even with this smaller part of the back patio that I had set up, even that little small system, that one station, if you will,
Yeah.
besides trying to expand it out in these others, still had those things that you have to keep an eye on. Something will blow out, if you got the emitters that are right off the main lines, or you got the ones at the end of the small ones,
Oh,
they can pop off so easily, or, it just, there's always something going on, and you got to keep an eye out for that stuff.
and
You don't
this is how
want
it
an
always goes
open
down.
line that goes and just starts shooting straight water out of
Oh,
it,
yeah.
like that, and just ruining the whole thing.
No, eventually you start to plan for that, but it's, you forget that you've planned for it, because the first day you go out there, it's going to be like you've had 2 weeks of hot weather. You're like, I got to get the irrigation system going. You set it up, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I cut some of the plastic line last year with my shovel or something. There's a huge gusher. So now I have
Yeah.
to shut the irrigation system down, and I have to go get the part that I need, because you probably don't have the part. Just, it's always the way it works. You look in your little toolkit of used parts. It's like, oh, I have everything except that one connector that I need. I have to now go to the store. It's just how it is. Irrigation, irritation. That's what I always say. Just to keep
Irritation,
it's gonna
exactly.
it's
It
going to
is a
be
complicated system. It's got a lot of parts and pieces and aspects to it and all of that sort of stuff. But if you got, especially small urban spaces, or live in places where it gets just really, really hot and it's hard to keep up with certain water and certain things, and you can time it out, make sure it's trying to get and going. Having them set up is such a really great benefit, though, too, as well, too. So I'm really kind of like one of those people who's very pro hand watering and pro timed out irrigation as well, too. I want a good combination of both of them.
Well, I had an apprentice on my farm many years ago who used to say in a very country style, "Water is the best fertilizer," and he
I
was
love
totally
it.
right. I mean, it's
That's
just like,
right.
just need it. You need consistent water to get great growth. You cannot
Mhm.
dodge that, and somehow
Yeah.
or other, you got to figure out how you're going to provide it. And
Well, I
the
mean, to
drip,
make all of that magic that goes on in the soil, it's just like us and our bodies or anything that's living, really. It consists of a large percentage of just water, right? We need water to live. It's so really important. So if you think about it, when things dry out, that soil and that soil biology can't do the things it's trying to do. So water and keeping things consistently moist and wet, or however it really needs to be, depending on the types of plants you have. Some need a little more, some need a little less, but that sort of thing, making sure that soil moisture level is appropriate is important.
well, sometimes you get the perverse effect of, as soils, and you can experience this both with potting soil and regular soil. As soils dry out, they actually become hydrophobic, which means they will
Oh
easily
gosh, oh
push
nightmares.
away water. So this is a big problem, because once things have gotten dry, you're trying to apply water, but
Yep.
the soil may be rejecting it, at least on the surface, and you're getting lots of run. This happens a lot in container gardening constantly. It's like the container dries out, the soil gets hydrophobic, you apply a lot of water, and the water goes top, down the bottom, out the sides, out the drain holes. It looks like it's like gushing. You think, oh my God, I'm overwatering, I better stop. And in reality, your plant has gotten very little water. So the
Yeah, you
consistency.
got to watch out too. Yeah, that's a big thing too, is the top can really be deceiving. Like, you
Yeah.
see the top, it looks like it's nice and wet. It looks like sometimes it looks like the water seeping in nicely and everything too, and
Yeah,
it can be really deceiving. And all it's doing is going down just a little bit and then hiking it right to the edges, or
exactly.
finding some sort of hole that goes straight down through the whole pot, and it's just finding its way directly down through there, and your water is just coming out. Yeah, and when you should, I mean, it's hard to tell, from the top, but you see water come pouring out like it shouldn't be and all that, make sure you're checking that those it happens to me all the time, Mark.
Yeah.
I got so many containers, it's hard to keep up with a lot of them sometimes, and here and there some of them kind of happen. And just like in the house too, I've got a lot of house plants, and I have one over there I'm trying to rescue right now because it got kind of caught in the back of some other ones. It wasn't getting cared for as like the other ones were too. So that happens out in the out garden too. So that's why you got the tub outdoors too. You know what I mean? You get the tub, fill
Exactly.
it with some
Submersion
water.
is sometimes the best way because
Yep.
you can see how much air is in your soil. All the air bubbles come out when you submerge the well, sometimes if your plant is really dry, I've had this funny phenomenon happen. You put the pot in and the whole plant in the soil pops up like a cork because it's so dry. It's like,
Yeah.
oops, I think
They
I need to
float.
water my plant. So that's a bad
Floating
sign.
plants, and that, well, I mean, but that's what you do though, right? You just let it float there and start absorbing that water and soak it up and try to rescue that soil. So
Well,
yeah, I know
there's
exactly what you're talking about because again, even us experienced gardeners do this, and it can happen and everything. But it's still kind of important to try not to let that happen to your plants, but it'll still happen.
Well, two ideas on that. One is a friend of mine says we're only as good as our systems. So,
Mhm.
there's a sense in which like putting together a system can really be beneficial as a gardener for irrigation or for anything because then you have repetitive process, you're covering all the bases, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that that's kind of what drip irrigation is for a lot of people. It's kind of their system for watering. But then yeah, what was my other thing on that? Something about watering. Oh my gosh, two things. I said the first one, the second
I
one's
know. Oh, I hate it. Believe
what
me.
was it? Oh, it could have been genius. It probably was genius.
I
I
know.
can't
And then later you're gonna be like, darn it, I really wish
wait.
I would have
Yeah.
remembered that.
Tonight I'll sit bolt upright in bed and be like, wait, that's what I wanted to say.
That's what.
Anyway,
Oh yeah,
let's
yeah,
just leave it at that. Oh no,
yeah.
here's the second thing. Okay, it is genius. Um,
And there you
you
go.
know,
Perfect.
yeah, as gardeners we grow in our experience and we think we should be better, we shouldn't be making the same mistakes, but oftentimes as we grow in experience we take on more, so we can't always, it's not always like our attention is laser focused on each plant. It's like we're trying
Hmm.
to shift between many different things, and because we've taken on more we've sort of diluted our experience in a way. So I think
Yeah.
I feel like I'm constantly juggling that with like, all right, yeah, I'm decades into this as a profession and as a hobby, but sometimes I still make basic mistakes. Why is that? It's because, well, maybe because I'm trying to do 100 things now, whereas I used to just do two.
Yeah.
I was happy doing two. Now I'm doing 100, and 95 of them are going pretty good. But then there's always five that's going to
Hmm.
make me look like a beginner.
Yeah.
Just,
That's just the way it works,
I
right?
guess that's what we accept, right? At this stage, maybe.
That's right. Right. Exactly. Well, I mean, you take all of the greater success, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And
Exactly.
like sometimes it's just like, all right, well, sometimes the battle's in your own head. Like, it's like I'm growing all these beautiful pepper transplants, pepper starts, particular things that I want to grow, and a bunch of them die. Well, early on, I was probably freaking out about that. It's like, oh my God, the season's ruined. Now it's like, well, I guess I'm going to go to the nursery and just get some more. It's
Yeah.
just a sense of like, all right, plow forward, just keep going, just move on, get to the
Yeah.
next plateau.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Well, right on. And here's something too. It's kind of unusual to not have a guest for our show today. So there's
Yeah,
nobody
right.
waiting in the background. So I haven't been paying attention to the clock as much. And
We're
boy,
going on.
we're just chatting and chatting away. But real quick here though, Mark, is there anything else you were thinking about or wanted to mention about the garden spaces or anything growing on at this moment?
Well, we're actually we're getting a grant at school, which is going to be interesting over
Oh,
the next
that's gonna be
couple of years
nice.
to actually develop a, a wildflower meadow. So it's going to be part of a big rotation. Now, I guess I'm going to have to stay as a school gardener for about 10 more years, but we're imagining we're
a
imagining
long a long or a long-term project, where
yeah,
it's
long term.
really out
You got to
there.
think into the future far
Yeah.
ahead sometimes. but we're imagining is taking an acre of land and breaking it up into 10 pieces and rotating around to do 1/10 of an acre in dry land farming, no irrigation, using just
Yeah. We've talked
water that's
about that
there.
a little bit before, huh?
Yeah, but using the other 9/10 essentially, allowing it to go fallow into meadow. So it's like this very long-term kind of rotation that just really tries to help native pollinators and birds and such, create some beauty, but also just this sense of regeneration, really giving the land a lot of time to rest and regenerate in between crops. And that's an idea that John Jevons, the biointensive gardener there, how to grow more food in less space than you imagine possible, or that's somewhat near the
Right.
title of that book. From California years ago, he popularized the biointensive method, and he says something like that. He's like, you should be growing really on 1/10 of your land and allowing the rest to regenerate. And it's a very interesting concept. So we're going to try to
Just
put
kind of
that to work.
move one plot to the next, and while allowing each one to grow. And that way, 10 years, you're back over on this one again, and
Yep.
kind of
Yep.
going around. That's an interesting thought of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you have a sufficient amount of land. A lot of people are pressed for space, so that probably wouldn't make sense to them. But there is always a need for regeneration
Yeah.
and rest for the land. I mean, we do have to think of that. So it's no matter what you're doing, you should be dedicating some of the space of your garden to rest and regeneration through cover crops or other plantings.
Yeah, no, that's a interesting concept. It'll be interesting to see how you develop and work that, though, too. And cool that you got a grant and some funding to be able to put that project together.
Yeah, so really just looking at, how can we strengthen the local ecology? Because whatever we're doing as gardeners is within the context of the local ecology, right? It all comes down to that. So
Yeah.
uh, to the degree that we can be strengthening that and making that a little bit more present in our gardens, then I
Hmm.
think ecology and the insects and birds and other creatures that are out there already can solve some of our garden problems for us. So by
Yeah.
inviting them back, we could actually get less work, less problems for ourselves. So we'll see how that
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah. No, wait, I can't wait to hear more about it as you get to working and putting that all together and everything. So we'll have to get some updates for sure.
Oh yeah, updates coming down next year. We're gonna
Excellent.
put it in this
Excellent.
year. Start it off this year. Just take off some sod. Let the We'll do a little flaming over the summer, which is a great way to do weed control without
Mhm.
disturbing the soil. I think I've done some episodes in the garden episodes on flaming, and that's a
Mhm.
technique. And then put a cover crop in next fall, and then so it's kind of a 2-year project to really develop it. And then the year after that, we'll do some growing, and then some meadow, planting to permanent meadow or 9-year meadow. So
Yeah.
we'll see where it
Start
goes.
getting that rotation implemented at that point, right?
Yeah, there was a book that I read years ago. God, it's about garlic, growing great garlic by Ron England. Great book.
Oh yeah.
That's a wonderful book, and he really talked about it. I think he was the first guy to really kind of get in the idea. It's like if you're going to start a garden, you should actually start it a few years before you actually plant the stuff you want, and you
Mm.
should be preparing the soil. And I was like, whoa, that's what a concept, man. You're working years
Yeah.
ahead to get the soil ready, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it really does. In
Yeah.
some ways, we kind of do that in a way. If you think about it, as beginning gardeners, we're growing things maybe with an intention we want them, but things aren't working or growing, or maybe things don't grow. All of that, so we're developing and working and not having our best gardens, but we're trying year after year, and ultimately developing our soil in the long run. But
Exactly. That's why you often get better as you go. If you can.
and you start seeing those better gardens in like year 3 and 4 and
Exactly.
5. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, you work into it, you develop and build those skills while you're building your soil, and then you're going to get into starting to see those real good outcomes in those later, or second, third, fourth seasons, those sort of things start to just kind of get better and better.
It's absolutely cumulative. Yeah. And the tragedy is if you go through 1 or 2 years and
just being prepared that that's what it's going to be like, though.
Yeah.
It's a good thing for beginners to think about. I'm
a terrible gardener because I haven't succeeded the first year. It's like barely anybody would succeed the first year unless they had magic soil there ready for them.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Right
on.
Don't despair if you're new to this.
Don't despair. Exactly. Just be prepared that we've all kind of gone through it in those first couple of gardens ourselves, Yep. And even so, though, too, and think about it, experienced gardeners, and, we've got a little bit more tools and ideas and what we can do in strategies, but moving on to a new piece of land or a new piece of property and developing a new space, and developing that soil and all that stuff, too. That's that same idea. Still going to take a couple seasons to work into it and get those, get that soil right where you want it.
Totally.
Right on, Mark. Well, let's get moving on here. We're going to take a quick little break here, finish up here in the garden, and we'll be right back here in just a moment for our book club here. We got some books to talk about today.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Tons. All right. Here we go.
See you in a minute.
Ivy Organic was founded on the gardening concept of whitewashing, simply lightening your plants to better tolerate weather extremes, transplant shock, and so much more. Such a valuable gardening practice that farmers have been doing it since BC times. However, in recent years, most research has been caring for plants and trees using latex and tar-based products which are designed to last 100 years but fall off your plants within 1 to 2 years as your plants grow, contaminating your garden soil indefinitely. Available in colors white or more natural looking colors such as brown, green, gray, and grayish. Ivy Organic has 2 general categories of whitewash products. The 3-in-1 Plant Guard, which includes 7 natural oils including castor, cinnamon, clove, garlic, peppermint, rosemary, and spearmint, which offer insect and rodent repellent protection, and the whitewash oil-free formula. Both products also have diatomaceous earth in the base ingredients, which naturally offer some insect repellent protection too. As always, keep growing with Ivy Organics and wishing you all happy gardening.
All right. Here we are, back at it. And real quick, shout out again to Ivy Organics. Go to ivyorganics.com. Use our promo code GROW10, GROW10. Get 10% off there at ivyorganics.com. Go check them out. Go get some 3-in-1 Plant Guard. Thanks to Ivy Organics for being our sponsor of our show. And awesome, Mark. It is now time for us to get into a little bit of a book club, right?
Let's do some books.
Let's do some monthly book club. All right. Here we are. Now it's time to get out of the garden and into our libraries and check out what books we've got on our bookshelves and talk a little bit about those. As I was mentioning, we don't have a guest today in a featured book for this month, but what we're going to do is talk about some of the books that we kind of turn to and look to each and every season, or our most used gardening books, or that sort of thing that we've got. I know you've got some great selections. I've got a couple. I just brought a couple that I just, I know I have them. They're always out versus actually, I say we got to pull them off the bookshelf. I don't even know if these books really make it onto my bookshelf.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Is what the point with these are really, is because they're really kind of out and I'm using them, and there's kind of some really kind of specific reasons around that too. And I know you've got a couple of books as well too. I'll let you start off with your first book here, and we'll kind of just jump right into it here.
Well, I'm going to go way back to the day, Growing Vegetables West of the Cascades by Steve Solomon.
Wow, that's like an older, like first edition or something almost.
Yeah, right? Exactly. This is I think this is the 1989, and it's.
I think I've got that book, a newer edition of it somewhere on my bookshelf too.
Yeah, I came from New Hampshire. Now, to be honest, I didn't have much gardening experience in New Hampshire. I'd just done one season on a farm there, and that's where I was just beginning to become
Mhm.
aware of gardening life. But when I got out here, I worked on a farm, and then for a season in Port outside of Portland, and then this woman and I started a CSA, and so this really was my indispensable reference book at the time of just like how did the seasons even work out here? What can you grow?
Mm.
How do you grow stuff? How do you prepare your soil? I mean, Solomon, and over the years, I've used some of his other books. He wrote a really nice short little book on dryland gardening, growing without additional irrigation. And then he's got another great book on soil nutrients that I look at a lot called The Intelligent Gardener. And just he's so knowledgeable. I mean, he started Territorial Seed Company, which is
Mhm.
still one of our mainstay seed companies. And then he sold it. He moved to New Zealand. But this book that he wrote, Growing Vegetables West of the Cascades, has remained in print. I mean, he's had to do a lot of editions living
Yeah.
in New Zealand. Um, he's just a very knowledgeable resource. Talks a lot about the seed industry in this book and his insights from that. Um, but overall, I would say the overall arch in all of his books is this idea of self-sufficiency, just
Mhm.
really being able to provide, and a kind of with a little bit of a nutritional sophistication. Like he realizes, as do many people, like it's not just growing vegetables. You have to grow nutrient dense vegetables to be
Yeah.
able to sustain yourself.
Yeah.
So that's kind of an insight in and of itself. Like it's like the mineral quality of the soil determines what the mineral quality of the vegetables will be. It
Right.
makes perfect sense, but if you've never thought about it much before, it could be a
Yeah.
new insight for you. So it's like two tomatoes are not necessarily nutritionally equal, even though it's the same variety. You know, it's like
Right.
depends on the soil that they're coming from, what was there, what was present in there for them.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. That's what makes soil so important. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a great example. You can grow two of the what you would think is the identical thing, but they won't be, and they'll be, different in lots of different ways based on what the soil it was grown in.
yeah, so
Yeah,
his
it
I
makes.
should have grabbed. I do have his book, The Intelligent Gardener. I didn't wasn't at my fingertips,
Mm,
but
mhm.
that's maybe the one I use a little bit more, and that would be the one that would be more of a reference for everybody, I would say, in terms of like everyone's got to deal with soil, understanding a soil test or just understanding
Mhm.
how soil works. But this one was really like, this is the book I would wish for everybody. Like there's some kind of guide for
Yeah.
your region. And, I
Yep.
don't know enough
Yeah.
about who are these authors in each region, but I hope
Yeah.
every region has one that gives you how to grow in your bioregion. Essentially, that's what you would
Yeah,
do.
yeah, exactly, exactly. I've got one I'm gonna talk about too as well. But what I would say though is, and I kind of mentioned that at the end of the In the Garden there too. But is this idea of moving into a new plot, a new place, or a new situation where you're building a new garden or something from somewhere different, and then you bring this example from all the way on the East Coast to all the way over here to the West Coast, and then with that book as a reference helping you get to understand and see the differences, what would be actually a question for you though, what would be one of those uh, uh, maybe differences that that you remember from that transition? I know it was a while back ago, but what was one of those differences you remember from that transition of living the East Coast and gardening and coming here and learning those differences?
Well, I mean, the biggest one was irrigation. It was just like having to water crops all summer long out
Mhm.
here and figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Like just absolutely different than, I started working on a farm in New Hampshire for a season, and there might have been a little bit of emergency sprinkler stuff just in case, like when you planted a book, I'm seeing Steve Solomon garden books that Jay's put up. When you planted a
Yeah.
crop, if you needed a little bit of moisture to get it to germinate, and the rain was a few days off or a week off, you could use the sprinkler a little bit, but really it wasn't a major feature. And the fields were not set up for irrigation.
Mm-hmm.
But here in Oregon, Portland at least, and all over Oregon, really, we just have a drought that lasts for months in the summer. The rains the rains are tapering off by May. You get some rain into June often, but it's not substantial. So it was like
Yeah.
just having to deal with that. How do you deal with growing things? Um, and irrigation is one of them. And the other solution he proposes is dryland farming, whereas you just take advantage of the moisture in the soil, but you space your crops out very far apart, and then you try to minimize any weed growth or anything else that would suck moisture out of the soil. So you could there's different ways to do it, but setting up irrigation, drip irrigation, understanding how sprinklers worked. The first time I went down to California and just saw these massive fields being irrigated with all this aluminum tubing with the risers.
Or the big rollers.
Oh, the big rollers. Yes, like the water cannon.
Yeah.
Crazy. The scale at which irrigation happens out in the West is astonishing.
Yep.
And as an individual grower, you need to come to terms with it as well. How do you water? How do you water effectively? So anyway, Solomon's book is not primarily about irrigation, but he definitely treats on it. And it was definitely one of the things that I needed to start looking for information about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And again, too, moving from and having those different, climates, different, everything that you got to figure out these different from what you knew to these new spaces. And it's great to have a guide doing that and having books that are specific to your regions and in your own specific areas and that sort of thing as well is really great. So that's what my next book is I'm going to talk about as well too. But I did also want to pop this up here. Robin was mentioning her favorite book is Elliot Coleman's The Winter Harvest Handbook.
Oh, yeah.
Made me see growing in the fringe months differently. And I want to also mention too, everybody, I want to hear about what your favorite gardening books are. Jump into the chat with us here if you're here with us live, and let us know about your favorite gardening books or books that you use the most, that sort of stuff. I want to see and hear about your favorite different books that you have in the chat as well. Robin also mentions too, Rodale's Organic Gardening is her favorite reference book.
Oh man, Rodale, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one for sure. So yeah, talking about regional specific. So, Steve Solomon, he's done a great one with that book, West of the Cascades. Great reference book for those of us folks who are living here on the West Coast for sure. But you can even get more regionally specific. You can do all of that. And one of the ways you can really do that is go find your local, and that's just maybe and I'm going to say this too, I guess we do have kind of a worldwide audience here. I'd have to say to folks outside of the States or something like that, you'd have to look for maybe similar types of organizations or things that might be there. So you might have to do a little bit more research or looking into that sort of stuff. But for folks, I know in the States, we have our university extensions that we have around the country and all of that. So if you find one of those extensions, and you can find one of those extension offices a lot of times, and I don't know if this is true or not either, whether they all would or do or not, but produce their own regionally specific books and guides to your region. So I have one here that's literally the garden guide for the Rogue Valley. And that's really just right here specifically, so our university expansion here for Jackson County in Southern Oregon, put together this guide here. So it's very, very specific. Not just west of the Cascades. This is right here for Rogue Valley where I live, and put together by master gardeners who've come through their master gardener programs over the years, who've gardened in this area over the years and all of that, and really put together a really great guide, which is so helpful for me as a gardener, because one of the things I like to always say is it's great to come on to online and to come and see these shows, meet all these great gardeners from around the world and all these. That's why I love having this show as kind of a garden conversation, because really, you know, in the long run, hopefully it's inspiring. We're learning some things and all of that, but our best knowledge we're going to get about growing in our specific spaces, in our specific gardens, is going to come from local resources, people that's really local to who and what we are, you know, where we are growing and growing our food and all of that. Finding those local garden clubs, you know, that are around, and meeting other gardeners who are growing right there, and you know, just right down the street from you, you know, around your neighborhoods, in these similar microclimates that you're dealing with and all of that, so that you can find really great answers to some of those issues that you're having in your garden, like pest issues that are going on, because they're going to be dealing with those similar pest issues, you know, whether they're dealing with fungal issues and different things like that. You know, folks who are dealing with the same region, same microclimates, same things like you are going to be some of your best references and best resources. So that's why you want to kind of get local. We've talked about this a lot on shows throughout the weeks here this year, even, you know, about getting out there, getting involved in local organizations and doing things. In fact, Bowtie, David from Bowtie Life came on yesterday's show with Mrs. Bowtie, and they talked all about this as well too, getting involved with local organizations and all of that. But that just kind of connects us with people who are going to be really great resource for us to get good information about growing our gardens, are those folks who are local to us and can be really great garden friends and like I said, resources. But this book here, specifically the gardening guide for the Rogue Valley, is where I live here in Southern Oregon. And I literally, I'm looking at it all the time, you know, checking out different things, just to, you know, to look maybe at different things that I'm growing, or if I'm trying to grow it, or I've got things that I'm having issues with or something like that too. I'll be referencing this all the time when it comes down to it. And another thing, you know, it's also got a great calendar guide that starts in the book as well too. I don't know how well this shows with the lighting here or not, but it's got a calendar guide that literally takes you through, like, you know, January, you know, here's January in the Rogue Valley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here's February in the Rogue Valley, right? You know, these are sort of things. So it kind of keeps me and keeps my mind on those sort of things that are specific to my region here, and what I'm what I could be looking to. Now, with that all being said, though, too, you know, these are great reference guides for sure. This has been compiled, and I hope that maybe there's another newer version coming out too. I know, I can't remember, this is a second or maybe a later version already, so it has been updated before. So, you know, maybe there'll be a newer one as they come, you know, compile newer information. But you know, we talk about this all the time. We are dealing with climate change. Things are changing season to season. Things are a little bit different from season to season. So I'm sure these folks as well are compiling information that'll change and update their next guide, you know, as we're looking towards, you know, future growing seasons and that sort of thing as well too. But it is a great reference guide that at least gives me a good starting point for things that are to be thinking about when it comes to growing and gardening and setting up and planning and doing all that sort of stuff when it comes to growing right here in the Rogue Valley in Southern Oregon. And I would encourage other folks to go out there and look for and research for local extensions, and maybe they've got similar guides like this sort of thing that you could use yourself, because it helps you kind of, for me, it just kind of helps me just get right on track with what I need to be doing and what I need to be thinking about through the growing season.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna grab something here that this Seattle Tilth has published a similar thing for up here, the Maritime Northwest Garden Guide. And I was just at the Flower and Garden Show in February. I was talking with one of our book club authors, Bill Thorness, and he's actually on the committee that's rewriting this. He did have a hand in writing it earlier on.
Yeah.
He wrote the book Cool Season Veggies that we reviewed.
Yeah.
But anyway, as you say, people are seeing the need to update this, and you know, that's good. I have also a pamphlet here that a local nursery published, the veggie calendar. So again, while it's not book length, it's not a book per se, it still does capture some of that local knowledge. So these are the kind of things you're going to want to look for in terms of books books or guides or pamphlets or brochures that can help you figure out what to plant.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think these are, really great places. I always like mentioning about, extension offices and those sort of places for reference for people, to find, or it's a great starting point too. Talked about, just talking about Solomon's book and what you were mentioning there about moving from the East Coast to the West Coast. You know what I mean? You move from one place to the next. That's probably one of the good things you want to do if you're thinking about growing a garden in a whole new place, is maybe searching out that local extension to help be a starting point for you to get and for one, start getting good information for getting your garden started, but also getting you connected locally with local organizations, people, garden clubs, all that other sort of stuff that you can get involved in as well too, to get started with and everything too. It's great resources there.
Yeah, the illusion that we have in the internet age is that we can just look things up and we'll get information, which is partly true, but oftentimes the information isn't properly sifted, right? It hasn't been. It's not always targeted to our particular region, and what you don't know is what you don't know, right? I mean, you don't know that you need to. Maybe the recommendation is being given for a region that's warmer or drier than your region, or even a bioregion. They can be pretty small. For us, a 2-hour drive east puts you into a totally different bioregion, and
for sure,
with very different soil conditions, with everything changes. So need to be, it's pretty granular, and the books take a lot of wisdom and condense it for you and curate it for you. So that's can be very helpful.
Yep. Exactly. And again, too, like Robin says, you can go find those university extensions online as well for good online resources and information as well, and all of that too. But, that's online, and online's there too, and we can find and do and all that sort of stuff. But I still like having this book right here with me and these pages, and I can flip through it and have it with me and all that sort of stuff. But, I'll flip through and check some online resources as well too when it comes to certain things too. Jay in the chat says that she really likes Square Foot Gardening by Mel Bartholomew. Influenced my gardening greatly. Yes, that's a great classic book. I love the idea. Square Foot Gardening as well too is a big concept for me as I was first learning to garden in these smaller spaces and utilizing containers and these elevated above ground raised beds that we have in the back patio spaces and all of that, and really utilizing that square foot gardening concept in those little spaces so that I can get the most out of them and everything too. Great book. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Again, too, everybody, let us know your favorite books in the chat. So if you are here with us right now and you have a gardening book that you like or whatever, jump in the chat and let us know.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna riff a little off of Elliot Coleman here because we're seeing that mentioned there. And I'm actually going to bring a book written by his wife, Barbara Damrosch. I think they're still married. They were, at least for a while, last time I checked. Theme Gardens. This is an old book, but it's a great book. This is a great, sometimes going to places like Goodwill or old bookshops, you can get some just absolute classics, and sometimes they're not even still in print. In the general circulation, but just some great.
I actually have a bookshelf for those specific types of older books, whether it's like Better Homes and Gardens or there's Rodell's on there, old ones, you know what I mean, that I've gotten at secondhand bookstores and stuff. And it's just, I see something that's about gardening, I just can't help but take it anyways. It's, of course it's probably the secondhand store. It's very inexpensive to grab the book. Sometimes, 50 cents, $1 or something like that. You know what I mean? So I'm snagging it up. I don't care if it's old or not. So I actually have a shelf that's specific to those finds for sure.
Well, this one I really like because um, I think it helps me think about ways to arrange the garden. So even if I'm growing primarily vegetables and my goal is primarily to grow food for myself, there's still this question of like, well, what's it going to look like, or what's it going to feel like to be in that garden? And these kind of themed approaches can be really awesome, even if it's not exactly the thing you want. You can take so much inspiration from these. Like, there's some ones you could really use for, I mean, here's an example. Like, there's a whole plan for a child's garden and what would be planted, and the kind of the teepees and the sunflower houses and all that kind of stuff.
I love it.
But then there's other ones like a medieval garden and a medieval herb garden or a colonial garden. And even though that might not be your whole jive or your whole purpose, it can just give you ideas and elements. And maybe it's not even the plant list. Maybe it's just the hardscape or how it's laid out.
It's one little single thing you take out of it, and you're just like, yeah, that's something.
Exactly.
We did that. what was Christian Douglas's book we had on the book club?
Food Forward Garden.
Yeah, you remember that round cool thing that was in that one garden? I still have that on my mind. Like, I've got to have something like that at some point, I love those little things, little pieces you take out of stuff you find in these books are great.
I know in my own garden journey too, we might start off by doing something like Mel Bartholomew's square foot gardening, and that's kind of very rational and very grid like. And then as you evolve and move, it's kind of like, well, I want things a little more mixed. I maybe want to integrate my vegetables with a little more ornamental, depending on where I'm gardening. I maybe want a little bit more of a feel or a vibe or a coherence. So these kind of books, the design books, become more, and the art, there's some great illustrations in here too, besides photographs. And, integrating grasses. There's a whole book on this one I was looking at this morning. I'm like, I got to take some pointers from this. A gray garden, just all these kind of gray palette or.
See, now I want to flip through that book. I'm going to have to.
Oh my God!
I'm gonna have to borrow that one from you for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm coming your way. So
I know that does look really cool. I like it.
Anyway, sure. I love what she does with this. There's a Japanese garden. There's just it's so full of ideas, and I think this kind of thing bears looking through about once a year. I don't always get
just for some good inspiration. Yeah, I love it. That's great.
Yeah, for me, this is how my brain works. I'll be harvesting these ideas when I'm reading some of these books, even if they're very lateral, like even if they're not specifically focused on when to plant the beans or when to, harvest the peppers or something like that. And then later on, if I'm standing out in the garden, just looking things over, trying to think about how to solve a particular issue of like, I don't really like the feel of this, or I'm going to take this plant out. Should I replace it with something? Some of these ideas will come to mind because I've sort of let them tumble around in the laundry machine of my mind for a while.
Yeah.
It's like that old speaker in the laundry machine, ka-clunk, 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 and then all of a sudden it falls out. You're like, oh, this is exactly the idea that I needed.
Exactly. I love it. That's perfect.
So I love these really artistic and inspiring books too. And like you said, we had Christian Douglas on his
book. Was a great book like that. Yeah, for sure. Just lots of cool little inspiring things.
Classical forms, these classic English gardens and classic European forms. And then he started to travel around the world and he was taking other elements. And, it's the reason why people go on these fancy garden tours with people like Cisco Morris, because they want to see what other parts of the world have to offer in terms of garden design. It's not just performance.
I'd love to go on a tour with Cisco, man. I gotta figure that out sometime. It'd be so amazing. We should be having him back on the show here real soon. Been talking with him about doing that too. So
He
I
doesn't even
love
have to
having
write
him
a new
on.
book. He's just welcome on anytime.
That's right. I tell him that all the time too. He's so great though too. I mean, I love getting emails back from him and everything. Him and Mary are just so really awesome as well too. Let's see. Not we also Serena mentions there too. This is a book here. Carrots Love Tomatoes.
Oh, that's a fun one.
I don't know the author though. She didn't put the author there, but there's a fun, cool book there too. Carrots Love Tomatoes. I did want to mention this. Dusty Flat says, since the internet and YouTube, I really don't look at books much. Depends what I'm looking for. And then Rob was also mentioning I'm the same, but if I need a book, I get on my phone so I can read them anywhere. So yeah, you can get the phone books, you get the audio books, that sort of thing. I don't know how many too many gardening books or audio books, but I know they can get some on your phone if you need to do that sort of thing. But man, I'm telling you, that's why we do this book club, and I think this book club's so fun and everything too, is it just helps us stay connected to these physical books. Like I was mentioning, I just got to have this book.
Oh yeah,
The information may be available online. I just want to have this around with me. You can see there's dirty fingerprints all over it and stuff from being out in the garden with me and all that sort of stuff. But I love them and everything too, so a lot. And again too, especially these cool, great reference books, I really, really use a lot too, and they're very durable. And they know the people who made these knew they were making them for gardeners too, so they're ready for us and everything.
I once heard a story about it. Just all this talk about how you get your information reminds me, if you're into the physical books, I mean, you're into the physical books. I once heard a story about Igor Stravinsky, the great classical composer. When he would go on a trip somewhere, he would like pack a whole suitcase full of books, like all the books he needed for the trip. And I'm not that bad, but I do tend, like, the first thing I think of when I travel is usually like, what books am I taking? Like literally, I'm that attached to the physical books. Like I need to, before I think about underwear, toothpaste, and and running shoes. It's kind of like, all right, what books am I taking? And then once I get that done, then I can think about the other things. So it's like, I will never give up the pleasure of the physical book. It's like, and I still use books so much, even with the internet, even with all these other incredible resources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No. It says Principles and Applications of Soil Microbiology, Edition 3.
That sounds
great
good.
book by 3 authors in respected fields.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to get into some soil science. There's a great idea for a book there too. Thanks Cam for putting that in there for us. That's great. Awesome. I love seeing those books. Anybody else got any other book suggestions? Put them into the chat. Yeah, my other book I brought too. This is my other real reference book too, and it's kind of similar in a way. Started with the one that's just really regional specific and that sort of thing. So I got the regional idea, but this other one too is one that I got early on, and use this especially when I learned about like last frost dates and these sort of things and how we're supposed to be thinking about timing and that sort of stuff. So when I started thinking about that, I was like, I really, I'm one of these minds. I've got to have this. I kind of got to have a real map and guide. Why I showed in the other book why it's really kind of cool. It takes you through each month and those sort of things I need to be thinking about.
Oh yeah,
that stuff really works well for me and the way I think, the way I plan, the way I do sort of things like that. So when I saw this book early on as I'm learning about last frost dates, this one is by Ron and Jennifer Kujawski. It's the Week by Week Vegetable Gardener's Handbook.
Oh, great.
And this just takes you week by week. And really what you do here, Mark, is you got your last frost date and use that as your date number or whatever. And I guess you fill it in here as in some sense. And then it takes you, let me find one of these here. So like this page I put too is 8 weeks after average date of last frost. Right. So it's taking you week by week based on your average date of last frost,
Mm.
right? So you basically got that date, and then you go back, and this is kind of where you start from, and then it just takes you through and gets you all set and ready. And it takes you through all sorts of stuff from, what things you need to be thinking about getting started, whether, like early in the season, it'll be saying this is the time to like be checking your tools and making sure you got certain things, your seeds and what seeds, and going and getting certain types of seeds because you got to be thinking about planting them. All sorts of these really cool little chores and things to be thinking about week by week. And then as you get into it, there's, again, like this one's after. So now we're already planting and already into our garden. So it's taking you through some of those sort of things. And it's just a really great guide, to these are all just kind of references and guides and everything. And like I said, to that sense of like, okay, well, my last frost date's say here mid-May, right? I can just go back and I just know what I'm doing 12 weeks before my last frost date, and tells me what these are the things I should be thinking about and working on and doing and certain stuff like that. And again, mind you, things are changing. We're working. We've got to adjust a little bit and all that sort of stuff. But I think as far as like using a book as a guide or for reference, this one is just really, really a great one for folks like myself who just kind of, like that. I wouldn't necessarily say like holding my hand in a way, kind of help, but I kind of in a way do, because I'm just a busy person too. So I will lose track of certain things or certain stuff if I'm not really kind of got something kind of guiding my thoughts in the sense of this is what you should be thinking about at this point in time right here. Because then it's like, oh yes, that's right. And then, oh, I got to go over and get that and go work on that or something like that. Whereas if I didn't use some sort of reference like this or have something like that, that would have gone. And what am I looking at there or something like that too. So I really, really, really like this book. It's definitely something that I recommend for folks out there too. Week by Week Vegetable Gardener's Handbook by Ron and Jennifer Kujawski there too,
Well, that's, that just makes me
great
think
book.
of part of the system of gardening. Like, let's, I talk about that phrase, you're only as good as your systems. Systems can be things that, like irrigation systems, of course, that's easy to think about, or record keeping, but planning is another kind of system. And maybe the system is like, hey, I'm dedicating 20 minutes each week. I'm going to actually calendar it in one of my gardening days or nights or whenever. And the first 20 minutes is going to be like looking through a book like that, getting my head in the game for what I need to do or what I could do this week. So just once you have a resource like that, then the next step is to use it. It's kind of like a paper calendar. If you forget to look at your calendar, you're going to miss appointments. Like, somebody I know, it's like, I'll write everything down on my paper calendar, but then it's like,
I'm just talking about a friend.
Yeah, I'm just talking about a friend. A friend of mine has a problem. And then like a call will come in and it's like, oh yeah, is it still a good time to talk today? I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Sure, like, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Like,
you're hanging up trying to think of like, okay, how do I adjust this out now? What do I do here? Making some frantic phone calls. I'm sorry, I'm going to be late.
So you have to work these kind of things into your system so that you actually look at them and plan.
Yeah.
Because, the greatest book that tells you week by week is not great if you never look at it week by week. So you somehow figure out a way to put it into your life so that you can actually look at it. And
again, there you go. Kind of a callback again to as we're talking about irrigation and setting up irrigation systems and all that sort of stuff. Is that you could have them and all of that. You got to be checking in on them, and you got to be watching them, and you got to be looking in on them. Same with your guidebooks and all that sort of stuff. You can have them, but you got to actually use them, and you got to look at them and follow along with them and do that sort of stuff as well too. But again, whenever I'm really kind of in these books and following along and really and again working my calendars and really referencing all this, when I'm in that groove in certain seasons, those are my best seasons, when it comes down to it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull out another favorite that I'm looking at a lot these days. Two books, actually.
Yeah.
big, heavy tomes. But this one is amazing. Garden Insects of North America
Ooh, yeah.
by Whitney Cranshaw.
That's a
And
great.
then kind of as a companion, this Merrill Peterson Pacific Northwest Insects. Now,
Okay.
let me do the garden.
No, I
They're
love this that
organized.
you brought this in there too, because we
Oh
don't
yeah,
think
right.
about
'Cause
this a lot, right? Again, we
now,
think garden
yeah.
guides. Well,
So
yeah.
the Cranshaw one is organized by the parts of the plant that are getting attacked and eaten. So,
Mhm.
like here's a chapter. Chapter 5 is all flower, fruit, and seed eaters. So this one there's a chapter. Chapter 3 is leaf chewers, anything that chews leaves. So this is stick and twig damagers, sap suckers. So it's flower. Yeah, it's a great
Mm,
book in terms of like you have a problem, you need to figure it out. You can go to the section. Something's eating my fill in the blank, and you go here and you try to figure it out. Great pictures. This is like just to me, it's essential. I'm constantly using this every year. There's a new pest. There's something that is showing
mhm.
up. There's something I need to understand about the life cycle of it. I'm always using this book every year. Um, this one is a more regional one. The pictures are amazing, though.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this one is more of a zoologist kind of text because it's organized by the orders, the families, and the kind of
Yeah.
the categories. Let's just say the categories of insects.
If you want to see you flipping through the pages, it's really, good visual guide, lots of pictures, lots of yeah.
But we found things.
Yeah, that's great.
Kids at
I need
school
that.
have found insects in here that were not pests, that may be coming from some wooded area or something. And so
Yeah.
this has been an interesting companion to have and try to figure out like what are we seeing? Where does it belong in this natural world and these it's
Yeah.
these just getting to know the creatures and like I was talking about before, the ecology of your garden is just so fascinating because it's almost like
Mhm.
we're not the ones gardening. It's just going on. We're
Yeah.
facilitating this process, but it is just going on in every dimension. And the
Yeah.
insects and the other arthropods, especially, are just so prominent, so
No,
fascinating.
I think
It can be so problematic.
yep.
It's just
Just not
something.
even knowing, you see something and you're like, there's this crazy looking weird bug that's out there. I don't know. Is
Yeah,
this a friend or foe? And having that sort of reference book for those things are really, really good to have and everything. Like Darth X says here, any Pacific Northwest book is highly useful to me because I live there. But again, too, here's the thing, like, especially even these insect books, you just put a regional one, but there might be an regional specific insect book for where you live as well too.
yeah. Hopefully there
So
is.
that's that. Yeah, so it gets those big, like, larger guide like you said, and then something that's more regional specific that really hones in on the type of things that you're going to be more likely to see where you're at, right?
Yeah, and you consider the life cycle too. A lot of insects have the complete metamorphosis. They go from egg to larva to pupa to adults. So just trying to,
Mm.
a lot of these books will help, especially this
See the life
Crenshaw one.
cycle.
It'll show you the cycle. So if you turn over a leaf and you see some eggs, you might be able to tell
Hmm.
for get rid of a pest problem before it starts, or at least
Save some
diagnose.
ladybugs before before you get rid of them or kill them off or something because you don't know what they are, that
Exactly,
sort of thing.
exactly.
Or
Yeah.
or even a ladybug larva. You see those
Oh, it
things?
looks
Yeah,
completely different than the adult.
yeah. It's so strange and weird looking that you'd be kind of like, oh my gosh, what is that? And could possibly even be you. It doesn't look like the cute little ladybug,
No,
that you
it
think
doesn't.
of. So you might be thinking, oh, I need to get rid of that thing or something. So you need to see those books and learn, like, oh, wait a minute, that's the, the ladybug before it's transformed and all of that, and follow the life cycle of them and everything though too. I'm glad you brought up the idea of these pests and books of say pests, but insects anyways.
Yeah, yeah.
That way we
And
can
of
learn
course,
some
there's so many
IPM,
beneficial ones.
integrated pest management, and maybe even, through those find how some of them are good for other pests that we
Mm.
have in our garden, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, the ground beetles, the rove beetles, there's so many good beneficial bugs out there that are just working for us. And we do want to know what they are, and we do not want to eliminate them. And, we want to be thinking about that, because
Hmm.
to eliminate these helpers makes your life as a gardener so much harder, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
oh my God, you're just like it's like you just fired your whole workforce, and now how do you get the production done?
Exactly,
So,
exactly. So not all of them are enemies. Some are though, some
oh
are,
yeah,
but there's ways that
some
we can
are.
utilize some of those other ones that that we can learn about more about in order to take care of them. And then also again too, saving, like Darth says here too, a book on pollinators of the Pacific Northwest and
Yeah.
pollinators of all of your other regions as well too, so that you can get to know and learn about those sort of things as well in these guides, because that's what you're going to get in like an insect guide like that too, is getting to understand what are pollinators, and really really beneficial for the different plants that you're growing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's just fascinating to remember that we share the world with this vast array of creatures. And uh, in some ways this can help document like what's there, what is around us right now even.
Yep.
And just we have to know what's there in order to help protect it, right? We have to know what habitats these things need, how all these strands of life are woven together. And just having this stuff makes you a better citizen of the world, a better ecological partner.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Love it though. Again, too, some great books. Here too, I just, again, some other ones too. There's a few other books too. I know, like Tony O'Neill's book we had on
oh
early
yeah, that
on
was a
in the
great one.
book club. I love going back there. Look at that, and Jay pops that up just in time too. Tony O'Neill, multiple. He's got lots of great gardening books, but I really like it, and I've looked back on the other one too. Again, he's just great detail into some of the cool soil science and all that sort of stuff as well too. So that's a great book. And other books that we've featured on our book club, that we've had here. There's some other great books that are great to go back and look in on, or check in on as well too.
Here's a cool little thing I took from Tony O'Neill. This is a combo from Tony O'Neill and Steve Solomon. So I made this little cup, and on the cup
Oh
are
yeah,
listed
yeah, I remember this. I think, yeah,
the
this is cool.
factors. This is like Tony's like 12 factors or something that contribute to plant success. So he just spells them out, and that's what a lot of what his book is based on. He goes into each one of these. But then Steve Solomon in his book has a barrel analogy, and he says, you imagine a barrel holding water or wine or something, and each of the staves in the barrel, if one of them is lower than the others, that's as much as the barrel can hold. So I cut out one, for example, like if your if your soil nutrition is low, your plants can only grow to a certain ability, a certain capacity or potential,
Mhm.
because even though everything else is at the max possible CO2, root health, genetics, light, air temp, all is good. If your nutrition is low, that's going to be the limiting factor. So I just find, like, again, like using two books and the insights in two books. I'm going to use this with my students. I haven't really developed it yet for them, but I have it
Yeah,
sitting on my desk reminding me, like, hey, these are the things you got to be concerned with that fits on a cup. And that's
yeah,
how that's how plants grow. If they don't have one thing or the other, or it's too low,
they all interconnect, and
that's as far as you can go, right up to that level. Anyway, so Tony O'Neill, cheers to Tony O'Neill and Steve Solomon.
there you go. I love it. It's so awesome. That's so awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good reason to be checking in here on our monthly gardening book club. I should have actually, I forgot to even set this up or anything too here again. So I don't have any banners for anybody, but we do get to announce and talk about our next gardening book club that we're going to have here this next month. So this month we're going to be featuring, and I'll get up a thing here and something too. I should have. I can't believe that got past my thing there now that I'm thinking about it. But anyways, next month's book is, and we've kind of talked about this. We've had her on the show here a couple months back, talking with Christy Wilhelmy.
Yeah.
We get to revisit now. We get to get the second story because, again, it's fun to do all the reference and the how-to and digging into the garden and all that sort of stuff as well too. But when we're talking about books, there's all sorts of types of books out there. You know, we've explored some really great books here on the book club, telling us all sorts of things from seed stories to our first book, learning about foraging, or, you know, doing all sorts of different cool things. But every now and then it's fun just to kind of get in and listen to or read a fun story in a book about some characters, a great, you know, fictional tale about something going on. And as gardeners, what better way to read a fun book about something and some characters in a story than gardeners in a community garden,
Right.
like we did with Christy Wilhelmy's Garden Variety back in our first season of the book club. But Christy Wilhelmy is going to be back next month for the next book. She's finally got it. It's publishing. It's coming out right here June 1st. It's called Bolting to Seed, and it's the next story in the story at the Vista Del Mar Community Garden. And Lizzie and all of her other garden friends there at the community garden and all that. So we're going to explore a whole new, this is going to be a murder mystery, Mark.
Oh man.
So we're going to be reading
wow.
about a murder mystery at the community garden this time. And if it's anything like the first book, it's really fun. Christy's a great writer, and it's great storytelling about things going on. And there'll be some gardening sprinkled in with some garden information and tips and things like that as well too. Like with the other one, I thought, it was a real genius way of putting gardening together with some cool, fun fictional storytelling.
Well, as I remember from that conversation too, she's been an LA community gardener for 30 years or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's seen it all. She's seen it come and go. She's seen what happens at a community garden. So it's all about the plants, but it's also all about the human stories.
The people,
too.
exactly.
So fun. Yeah, that was a great read. And so, yeah, her book is, as I understand it now, I was just looking on thrift books before this. You can pre-order it, but it's not quite out there yet, right? Or
yeah, I think it comes out, publishes for June 1st.
Oh, June 1st. Okay, good.
June 1st. So you can pre-order and they'll be shipped out coming at you from June 1st. But I do have a digital copy coming your way though, too. So we can get a little head start before we get our hard copies in the mail. So those will be coming as well too. But yeah, I'm really super excited about it. I know Christy's really excited about it as well too. We had her on the show a little while back ago, getting to talk about that and all of that as well too. So I love that whole story. It's going to be great. So we're going to get into doing that. And that leads us to what we're going to finish off the show with today is just a little bonus books that I kind of thought of last minute too. I sent you a message earlier. I was like, I kind of thought of this last minute. What if we add on to our discussion about books in the monthly book club, a couple of non-gardening books, because I have one book I've been trying to get into here and there because of gardening and our book club and all of that. I have to kind of keep coming back to it, but it's so good and such a great story. I do keep coming back to it. Every now and then there's books I'll get going and something gets in the way and maybe I won't finish it or something like that because the story maybe wasn't as interesting or anything. Every now and then that might happen, but this one's kept me coming back to it all the time. So I'll start off here with this book here that I've been reading called The Ventriloquists by E.R. Ramsapur. And this book is inspired by an incredible true story of courage and resistance. This is a story about, and I was telling you about this before we started the show, is that back in college, high school, all of that, I kind of got my start in media and everything through newspapers. was an old newspaper boy delivering newspapers on his kid. Always had a fascination with them. So when I found out or found this book on the bookshelf, and it was about a group of newspaper people in Germany during World War II, during during the Nazi occupation, at that time. And what they do is they set on a mission to do something that's kind of a mockery mock-up newspaper of stories and everything that seem like they're stories that would come from the Reich or whatever it is. There's a newspaper called Le Soir, and so these people create a mock-up of what would look like and would go out as a regular newspaper, but was filled with a bunch of like resistance type stuff that was in it. You know what I mean? So like if say like an officer or someone just looked at the newspaper, they couldn't tell unless you got in and started really reading it. And then you started. And so they knew by doing that it would be very, very dangerous and they would get in a lot of trouble and a lot of that sort of stuff. I haven't gotten quite to the end yet, so I don't know exactly the ending and all that sort of stuff, but it's a story of like just being really brave and being resistant and utilizing the biggest form of media during which is the biggest influence on everybody, is your newspapers, is your propaganda as we understand it, and that sort of stuff that they were utilizing all of the regular newspapers for. And so it was really cool, really, really interesting. It's been very, very great read so far, learning about all these different people and characters and things like that go into making this sort of thing happen here. So recommend that book, The Ventriloquists.
Well, that just sounds like a bunch of dusty old history that probably doesn't really relate to anything that's going on now. So anyway.
No, right. Well, the problem is now, for us in our modern day propaganda, if you will, Mark, is that again too, it takes us back to kind of some of the things we were discussing just a little bit earlier, is that a lot of folks and a lot of things and information and reference and all that sort of stuff is just now found and available online. A lot of our media input is online. We don't have all those old newspapers anymore. I got in and went to college to become a newspaper man at the wrong time. I was also mentioning to that too, because it was right after that everything's getting digitalized and newspapers started really fading away, and there's only so many really great newspapers left, and just kind of a fading thing in that sort of sense, and everything's online and all of that. So it's a little bit different way of dealing with and handling that sort of level of propaganda, if you will, than they did maybe in the old days. But I think there's still things that we can take from their strategies and their ideas and their thoughts about how and why and what they did to go about what they did, in sort of things that are going on with things that we see and feel and want to do today, if we feel that way about things that are going on. We don't get too much into that sort of stuff, but I think that's about where we go with it. If you want to get into something and a really great read and you're interested in World War II history and all that sort of stuff going on, check this book out, The Ventriloquists. I mean, just really, really interesting and great book so far. I'm going to finish it up hopefully here real soon.
Wow. And, when you pose that question, first thought I was going to reach for this very practical book of like, I'm trying to get better at Texas Hold'em, but I'm like,
there you go. It's some poker. I know you like your poker game.
That is in my bathroom though. I read that in short snatches. But a book that it's probably my favorite book of all time. I've gotten various copies of this because I keep giving my copy away to somebody.
I love you picked an all-time favorite though for
you. Yeah, kind of. This has to be The Way of the White Clouds by this guy named Lama Anagarika Govinda. And this is a book about a spiritual journey that happens in Tibet before China takes over Tibet. So it's kind of like,
wow.
Yeah, he's kind of going to have he has this spiritual encounter with a Tibetan master or a lama, and it changes his life. It changes his whole perspective. And then he winds up making multiple trips back to Tibet to document the art and the monastic culture that's in these highland temples and such. But it is such a fascinating combination. It's unparalleled travel writing. It's just astonishing in in a geographical setting that is unparalleled. I mean, I've never been to Tibet. I've been to India, but I feel like I've, to the degree that I can even imagine what it's like, he's helped me imagine it. So it's just some fascinating travel writing with this spiritual narrative that's woven through. I think it's just great. I never get tired of reading it. I read it out loud to my wife when she was recuperating from a surgery. I just read it about every other year. It's a great, to me, it's a classic.
Oh, I'm definitely putting it on my book list for sure. I'm gonna definitely have to check that out for sure.
Oh yeah,
I love
totally
it.
all worth it.
And again, too, this real time period of things going on there. We're talking here in my book, about what's going on in Germany during that time period in history. But imagine what it would be interesting to get insights and read about things going on for Tibet. I just can't imagine what that time period is like, for, you think about any nations where, or issues where, there's this overwhelming, I guess, evil power, if you know what I
Yeah,
mean, that's coming about to come in to try to dominate and do that sort of stuff, what it's like for those people and that sort of thing, and getting in and reading about some of that stuff would just be so interesting. So I got to read that book for sure.
yeah, it's really good. It's very captivating.
Yeah.
So we love our
Excellent.
books, right, Enoch? We love our
That's
books.
right. That's right. Just books, print, like I was mentioning with my book, I've just always been fascinated with, libraries, newspapers, magazines, just, books on bookshelves, and just getting in and just trying to capture what's in there. You know what I mean? You look at these bookshelves, you look at these things, and you just go, what is possibly within that world's knowledge, just things, and just captured in these pages that are up on these shelves, and so just to be able to go and reach in and grab and pull and capture some of that stuff for yourself, just it really kind of captured me, that whole idea, from a very young age, and I was really fortunate too, like I said, on the newspaper end, get paper routes when I was young and get that real connection with something that was going to be a historical time period type of thing as well too. So I feel really kind of lucky to have been able to do that and live through some of that as well, but print print history, books, things that are just so important. They're really important to who we are. And I hope that they, no matter how technologically advanced we get, no matter how much AI does whatever it does, all these sort of things that we talk about and think about and all of that as far as the future, I hope books still maintain a strong place, that, we all find bookshelves and have our own little personal libraries and things in our homes, and that just continues to be something that we carry in human culture into the future.
Well, Enoch, just in terms of to the degree that we are a book group and we advocate regular reading of books, a shout out to our local public libraries, the whole library movement, and our independent bookstores, because really, when you're making your choice as to getting books, please do consider those sources, because we have to keep our libraries strong for access. Everyone can have access, and by going to the library and requesting a book, even a gardening book, for example, it shows the librarians, hey, we need to get more of this kind of content. People are requesting this stuff, so we're going to buy more of it. And then the independent booksellers, of course, are out there competing with the giant behemoths like Amazon and such, but they can do and carry a lot.
Hopefully a lot of them, like you talk about, you got PAL Books up there too, hopefully a lot of those types of bookstores and things can really kind of make it through this and keep going and all of that too. I think that's really really true about supporting the local bookstores, which you brought up a great point, is that even with local bookstores and those sort of things, is calling them up and requesting or buying books through them and that sort of thing is a great way to support them, but also and the authors of the books as well
Yeah.
too, and their books. But also another way to do that too, again, is the libraries, calling them up, making sure that they got the books, like we try to mention too with our books and authors we feature each month on our book club, is to also, call up your local library and ask your local library to get that book as well too, not just because you want to check it out and get a copy, get a copy for yourself, but also make sure other folks locally around you can get copies too as well from your local library.
Before we shout out, I got my computer open too, and I'm reading some of the comments as we go. People are talking about Pollen, of course, Michael Pollen, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah,
but,
yeah.
I gotta do a shout out to New Hampshire here, because Serena, is it Serena Norell? Yeah, she just put a joke up that I had never even heard. It's a New England joke, so I got to say it. Her joke, giving her full credit. How did Connecticut? He used the New Hampshires. I'm like, oh yeah. All right, that's totally awesome. I got to just say that's a good.
Oh, there it is. I got it. There it is.
That is good. Some good New England stuff right there, and going back to my roots. So thank you. That was very, very funny to see. I'm like, I have never heard that coming from New Hampshire. How did I miss that?
I know. I love it. It's great. Wow. She puts up some great stuff there. Right on. Thank you, Serena, for bringing the fun jokes and stuff to the show there for sure. That's great.
That was great.
This one here too. The Bee's favorite book is The Great Gatsby. Okay, there we go. Now we're really digging here for sure.
Yeah, we're digging. Good stuff. Oh man,
I love it, everybody. All right, to another great fun book club, and I love always getting together and getting to hang out with you and conversate about whatever topics come up and whatever we got to talk about. But what a great day talking about some of our best and favorite, most used books that we use and reference and go back to from our gardening bookshelf, plus a cool non-gardening recommendation as well too that we have there. So I hope everybody else got a bit out of all of that as well too. But another great conversation today, another great show.
Yeah, this was really something a little different, which I really enjoyed. It was very free ranging.
Yeah. And then again, everybody, we'll get things back on track. Like I was saying, next month we'll have Christy Wilhelmy, and I'll get some information and things out for everybody so that you can get, I know we did that last time we had Christy on though too. We were giving out like some links and stuff to go get that book. I'll try to make sure we get that going for our next book club, and that gets put up here real soon. And that way you guys can maybe get a copy of it yourselves as it comes out June 1st. And we'll have her here for our June selection. And then we got plenty of other great authors and books lined up for I think we got a lot still. There's only a couple of months I think we got to be trying to fill out for the rest of the year almost. So we got some great book clubs still coming up for all of you, coming up regular on our regular day here, third Sunday of the month throughout the growing season here.
I'm excited. We got Murder Mystery coming up, Murder Mystery in the Gardens. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah. And then we got a real big time author and guest coming up the month after that. I'll just tease that. That's all I'm going to say. We got a nice big time, I say, coming up too as well. So, and then other great fun stuff coming up down the road. So it's going to be fun. You want to make sure that you're sticking along with us here. And like I always say here, as we finish up the show, you want to hit that like button, hit the thumbs up, and subscribe. But that bell notification up there, if you hit that bell notification, it'll notify you of all of our upcoming shows, like our monthly gardening book club and all of the other shows that we're doing here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Urban Gardener channel. The Let's Get Growing show. And again, to check out all of our links down below. Check out Marc's link to his Instagram over at Urban Ag Solutions. Go follow along with him too, as he's always sharing fun and cool things going on in his different garden spaces and different things that are going and growing. I'm sure you'll get to, like he was talking about, that cool thing you're going to do with the meadows and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure you're going to be sharing a lot of that stuff over there as well too. So definitely check out those links down below to our contributors and all that stuff as well too. So right on, Marc. Another great day right here on the show. Thank you so much. We're going to finish this right up here. Again, we'll be back at it again next weekend, next Saturday. I hope to see you all here on the show. And I'm not sure what we're going to do, but we're going to have some great conversations. We might have a guest. We might have some things going on, but we'll definitely be here. So definitely come and join with us next Saturday right here on the Let's Get Growing show. I'll see all of you then.
Bye, everybody.
Take the run. See you on the flippy flops.